It's not like the regular season opener snuck up on you guys.
Yeah, I don't know what to say to you. Right? He's in practice. He's looking good. He's progressing. He's not quite ready yet. He'll be ready pretty soon. I don't know what else to say to you.
The Philadelphia 76ers are already having issues. The NBA season has barely started and we already have drama. Stars missing games, weird comments in the media, being actively investigated by the NBA.
Look, I trust a thief passing around the collection plate in church more than I trust these guys right now.
This has not been the start they were hoping for. Now, part of this was very easy to see coming, of course. Both Joel Embiid and Paul George missed the season opener against the Bucks due to injury, which is a problem that we knew this roster would probably have when they put it together. As exciting as it was to see George jump from LA to Philly, he brought with him massive injury concerns, which was also a big reason why the Clippers were totally fine with him leaving in the first place. And when you add to that Joel Embiid, you get what we saw on opening night. And for a team that has spent a ton of money, has made all of these moves over the last 5 years to just try and compete, this is not how you want things to start. It's a huge game against your conference rival, the Bucks. First game of the year, new big three, Paul George, Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey. Let's see what these guys look like. And they got smoked. But the Sixers don't care about opening night. They have exactly one goal in mind: to win the title, regardless of how upset the NBA gets about how they get there. Embiid has said it publicly. He doesn't care about the MVP. He doesn't care about playing 65 games to be eligible for postseason awards. He just wants this entire team healthy for a postseason run. And it's a good thing that Embiid doesn't care about those awards, because he is not going to win any of them. He's already come out and said he doesn't anticipate ever playing both sides of a back-to-back for the rest of his career. And when you take away those games, plus the handful of others he's almost guaranteed to miss, he will not play enough games to be eligible to win any awards or make any All-NBA teams. But it seems as though he and the Sixers are sticking to their word, as he didn't play at all in the preseason and is already set to miss at least the first week of games this season. And even though they might get in trouble for it, all of this is very smart. He and the Sixers have already had plenty of regular season success over the years, but none of that matters now. They have a new big three with an MVP candidate at the center of it, a great supporting cast of role players, a championship winning coach to lead the way, and Daryl Morey has been searching for an elusive NBA title for 2 decades now as a GM. This team has a real chance to make that happen if they can stay healthy. So who cares about the random Wednesday night games in January that's going to marginally affect the playoff seeding if it could possibly put the Sixers' full season at risk? Well, the NBA itself certainly cares. In this era of stars skipping games and load management, the league has had enough. Over the past few years, they've put new rules into effect to prevent situations exactly like what just happened with the Sixers on opening night. If you rest a star, or in this case, multiple stars miss a game for a nationally televised game, the NBA is going to let you know about it. So as we speak, the Sixers are under investigation by the NBA. This is also why they put into place the 65 games played rule to be eligible for season-long awards that I mentioned earlier. The league was tired of seemingly healthy players missing games. Now, to be clear, George absolutely has a legit injury, and I'm sure Embiid is dealing with multiple things, as he always is. So those are real concerns, and being healthy and being healthy enough to play are two entirely different things, especially during a long NBA season. And it seems like if they were in the playoffs right now, at least Embiid would be out there. Which is why this is such a difficult issue for the league to deal with. In the highest leverage games of the year, players are willing to put themselves at a little bit more risk of re-injury by coming back from their injury sooner, and that's just not the case in the regular season. There is a real competitive advantage to resting your players during the regular season, so no matter how much the NBA tries to limit it, it's almost always going to be an issue. For example, even if the league finds out through its investigation that the Sixers violated the rules, they're just going to be hit with a pretty hefty fine as an organization. And honestly, if you had the Sixers tell the truth and you asked them, hey, would you rather have to play your guy or pay a fine so that they can stay healthier for the entire season, they would 100% just pay the fine. The real issue, and I think the only way the league could really get rid of load management, is that playoff seeding just doesn't matter very much in the NBA anymore. Yes, being a top 6 seed is important, so you don't have to deal with the extra game or games in the play-in tournament. Plus, you want to guarantee that you have a spot in the playoffs. You don't want your entire season to come down to 1 or 2 games. but every year we see teams outside of the top 3 seeds advance deep into the playoffs, and sometimes even the favorite in the series going in is actually the lower seeded team. The Sixers are a perfect example of this from last season. They were technically the 7th seed, but had a really competitive series against the Knicks, who were dealing with their own injury issues, and a lot of people thought that Philly was a real threat in the playoffs had they been able to stay healthy. The only real advantage that you gain for being the higher seed is home court advantage in the series, but even that doesn't seem to be nearly as impactful as it used to be. The bottom line is, if you see yourself as a true championship contender, as the Sixers do, the best thing you can do, especially when you have older stars, is find the perfect balance between getting ready for the regular season, winning enough games to be a top 6 seed, and being as healthy as possible going into the playoffs. And that, without some kind of dramatic rule changes, will never really change in the NBA. Unless they change the series format to where the higher seed only needed to win 3 games to win a series and the lower has to win 4, which they would just never do, there just isn't much of an advantage to playing your older stars 70 games in a season to be the 2 seed instead of the 5. The obvious answer to this and potential solution that people love to bring up is shortening the season, something I'm absolutely in favor of. 70 games feels like a nice middle ground between keeping a lot of the revenue from having so many games, which is the reason why the league and the owners don't want to lower the number of games, and hopefully making the season a little bit easier to endure for these players from an injury perspective. But who's to say that if you lowered the games played from 82 to 70, that then we wouldn't just have guys playing 55 games a year instead of 65 games a year? Would it really make that much of a difference? It's always a long season, and there's still a competitive advantage to sitting guys to make sure they're healthy for the entirety of the season. The bottom line is there is no good solution to load management in the NBA as long as that competitive advantage exists. If there is a benefit to these teams not playing their stars 65, 70 games a year, and it gives them a better chance to win in the playoffs, which is all anybody cares about, they're going to take advantage of that. And that's never been more true than it is for this exact Sixers team. Regardless of how skeptical you may or may not be about the injury histories of the stars, Philly has all the makings of a real championship team. But they've also been here before. The Kawhi shot in Game 7 in 2019, the weird Ben Simmons pass against the Hawks to blow their chance at a conference finals, various runs derailed by injury. Of the successful teams of the last decade in the NBA, this Sixers team is the most desperate for a legit postseason run, no matter what it takes to make that happen. They've gone all in this season, a massive contract for Paul George, the previous draft capital to add James Harden to the team and then move him, a huge payroll in an era in which a lot of teams are dumping salary. So do you really think that they care about this investigation or having to pay a fine or talking about it at a press conference or dealing with the media? Of course not. The Sixers season starts when the playoffs do, and as long as they are healthy then they couldn't care less about what happens in between.